scoring game. Who could have ever imagined, right?
Right.
75-72. Here's the bottom line. The team that cools off from three is the team that's going to lose this game. All right. The Warriors are 12 of 20, and the Kings are 13 or 24. So whatever team in the second half cools down from three, they're going to be the losers. I thought that foul on Sabonis towards the end of the half, I didn't agree with that call, but it's a big call potentially because he now has 3 fouls.
Well, yeah, that's the big thing there, right, Grant? And I guess it gives you an idea of how they're going to call the game because we were talking about it a little bit before the show. Sabonis has equal rights to that basketball. But the other stat I would say here, Grant, is the role players. This game has been about the role players. Yep. Davion Mitchell, Jonathan Kuminga. Yep. So who's going to be better tonight, the Kings role players or the Warriors?
You know, the other aspect of this first half is both teams are taking very good care of the ball, which is not atypical from the Kings, but it is from the Warriors. So, you know, you look at that, okay? You look at the fact that both teams have not turned the ball over, only 4 for each team. That's really good. In a pace like this, you would expect more turnovers, but we're not seeing it.
Exactly right. They're taking care of the ball. And I guess that would be a more worrisome thing for the Warriors, right? If you're the Kings, or if you're the Kings, you're more worried about that because the Warriors usually spray the ball around the gym. And so for the Kings, that's usually something they do well. So hopefully they can pick up the pressure in the second half.
All right, 75-72, again, is the score. And Sacramento has the lead by 3. I don't expect much of a change in the third and fourth quarter. Keep in mind, by the way, and we should have added this, as you watch this game, if it's close, Mike Brown doesn't have a challenge anymore. He's just used
It's a great point. It's a great point. And for a coach that's been hesitant to use a challenge, I'm okay with that challenge, Grant.
Yep. All right, Jerry Reynolds. Jerry, again, if you like offense, you're in the right game. And I know I'm going to sound old and, I'm just not – I know it's entertaining. But, geez, Jerry, I just watched the first half of the NBA. There was a combined 44 threes taken. I just don't enjoy it as much as I used to. But I know it's not going away, so I got to get used to it because that's the way the game's played now.
Yeah, that's the way the game is played. There's no doubt about it. And I really don't – I think it's overdone and all that. But it's also true that there's some great shooting going on. I mean, both teams is just unbelievable shooting, with a 3-point shot goes and comes. By the way, on that challenge, I don't really care what the ref said. They got it wrong.
I agree.
They got it wrong. I mean, Demonis didn't change his position nearly as much as Kuminga did. And so that, if you can't get it right, on the replay, then quit having replays.
Jerry, you know what I thought? I thought it was a no call. I thought it was 2 guys going for the basketball and they collided. That happens all the time in the NBA. That's not a foul on anyone.
No, that's exactly what should happen. You just leave it alone, and anymore it just feels like
terrible.
Every time, really, I just think it's those kind of calls and where the offensive player kind of jumps into the defensive player, just like, hold your whistles, but anyway, great offense. Defense. And I know a lot of fans say, well, you got to get out there and guard those 3-point shooters. Well, that's true, except that it's hard to guard 3-point shooters because if you get close to them anymore, they'll call a foul. How many times do you get to see 3-point shooters get bailed out for little ticky-tack stuff? And
Ryan. Once again, we're seeing the good version of Harrison Barnes.
You're seeing an excellent version of Harrison Barnes, and it's because the basketball is moving, Grant. Many times, Harrison Barnes has a mismatch down low this season against other teams, and tonight, the Kings are exploiting that, and they've got to the free throw line 10 times. Harrison, a big reason for that.
We talked, Jerry, yesterday about De'Aaron Fox, and that's the De'Aaron Fox you need. All right, he had 16 points. What I like about De'Aaron, and we know this, but he can get to any spot on the floor that he wants. But that little mid-range jumper where he looks like he's going to go to the basket and puts the brakes on, really we've seen is unguardable. And he's so high percentage there. He made 5 of 7. But here's something else we haven't talked about yet, guys. Free throw shooting. The Kings are a horrible free throw shooting team. Guess what? They were perfect in the first half, 10 of 10.
10. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it goes in stretches. I mean, this is a team that should be a good 3-point shooting, a free throw shooting team. They haven't been, but it wouldn't surprise me that they still get up into the high 70s before the season's in, like pretty much like last year. Uh,
Yeah.
it's just one of those things to where going down the stretch, uh, I think if you got to keep the Warriors off the line, take care of the ball, and don't give them too many offensive opportunities, and especially second chance points. But I think it's tough because with long rebounds, it's there's they shoot a lot of long balls, and so there's a lot of long rebounds. So boxing out and all that sort of thing really doesn't always help you. It's just reacting to the ball.
Jerry, you bring up a great point because that's going to be the thing in the second half. It's the offensive rebounds. The Warriors, one of the best offensive rebounding teams. The Kings, one of the best at limiting offensive rebounds and limiting second chance points. So how's that land in the second half?
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I think that's the whole thing where you really got to get all five guys reacting to the ball because, like I say, guards are going to have opportunities to make a lot of rebounds. Obviously, we've seen Herter do it, but I mean, I definitely think there's will be rebounds out there for guards, and then you really can run off those.
75-72 is the score at the break. Sacramento leads. So a couple of keys here in this second half. I'd like to see Keegan Murray get going a little bit offensively, number one. Number two, how long will Sabonis play before he picks up his fourth foul? Because, he had a solid half. He had 11 points. He had 7 assists, 4 rebounds. Jerry, you talk about this all the time, and I think he's number one in the league in this, in screen assist. We don't talk about this enough. He does a phenomenal job on screens getting his teammates open shots.
Best in the league. I don't think that's even debatable. Best in the league easily. And so, he needs to be.
Is that a learned trait? Why is it that he's so good at that? Because from a layman that the people are watching, it doesn't seem that difficult, but yet he's better than everyone else. Why is that?
Because he will do it. It's not a pleasant task, and you take a lot of punishment. Most players in this league do not want to set screens and get hit. And that's really the bottom line. I mean, it's kind of like a football thing for a linebacker. I mean, you've got to, whether you relish it or not, you've got to take the punishment. And there's probably, I don't know that I've ever seen a player really more willing to throw his body in there and take the hits.
Hey, Ryan, Jerry, go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say, Jerry, the Kings are more than willing to do that on defense. Taking a charge is like their signature this year. So offensively, why not set good screens?
Exactly, and I think the Kings they do a pretty good job of using his screens because a lot of times, guards don't wait for the screens, and then that counts as a moving screen. Very seldom do you see moving screens called on the Kings, and that's mainly because Sabonis sets them properly, and the guards wait till they're set.
Okay, if this game is within 3 to 4 points with 3 minutes left, I don't like the Kings' chances because the Warriors have a player by the name of Steph Curry. And we saw it a little bit in the first quarter. And I know Fox last year was Mr. Clutch in the fourth. I get all of that. That's a scenario I'm not going to be crazy about if I'm looking at this from Sacramento's perspective. Again, keep in mind, if this game is close, the Kings have lost their challenge that we just saw at the end of the half. So they don't have their challenge left. That's number two. And, third is, all right, is Sabonis going to be able to stay on the floor? And, Jerry, I know you always say don't make a big deal out of this because most of the time guys don't pick up 6 fouls. But it's how would Mike Brown coach this game if Sabonis picks up his 4th foul in, let's say, the first 4 or 5 minutes of the third quarter? Then what does he do? Does he leave him on the floor? Does he take him out? How does the game change?
Yeah, you're exactly right. That'll be something hopefully you don't have to find out. But it's like you said, I mean, he's got 6. He went through the first half with 3. So if he goes through I'm not a math major, but that means he's got exactly 3 more in the second half. And so, and I think, Mike Brown's going to want to keep him on the floor as much as he can. I can see where they take him out if he gets his 4th early. But then there's the point where you still say, hey, we got to have him on the floor. Try not to foul out.
What do you think the final's going to be? We'll start with you, Ryan.
Grant, I'm going to say Golden State 136, Sacramento 134, and I do have to throw in my key for the second half. It's turnovers. You mentioned it earlier. If Golden State is in single digits in turnovers, the Kings lose this game.
All right, Jerry.
Well, I think the Kings going to win 138, 135, and kind of the same reason as Ryan. I think the Warriors will start turning it over. Obviously, the Kings, Dario Saric is a good player. He isn't that good. So
either is Davion Mitchell.
And either I was going to say that, but I didn't want to, but it's true.
I think the Kings are going to win this game 140 to 135. I don't. Why would I expect the scoring to slow down considerably in the second half? I like the way the Kings are shooting the ball. I like the way they're making their free throws. I'm a little concerned right up here based on what we saw last week. Like, are the Kings going to be like thinking, oh my God, here we go again, the same way we saw against Milwaukee and against Phoenix? So this is a 7-game road trip. I think this game sets the tone for the entire trip. I just feel the Kings are going to win this game in a high-scoring 140 to 135 tilt.
I think one thing to watch for here in the second half, Malik Monk. He really wasn't a factor at all in the first half. And
didn't score.
And and it's rare when he isn't a factor. And he was the Kings' best player in that 7-game series last year against the Warriors. So I just really will be surprised if he doesn't have some impact here in the second half.
You know who I love? I love watching Corey Joseph play. He's one of my favorite players to watch in the league. He just knows how to play the game, and yet he's not flashy. He's not going to blow you away with the box score. It was such a pleasure being around him every day, Jerry, as you know, when he was with the Kings. The guy is a consummate professional. He never hurts you. He only helps you when he's on the floor.
Yeah, and that's why he's still in the league, and that's why he's been with, every bunch of teams, and they've all loved him. I mean, he brings what he's got. He stays in his lane. Great teammate. If you need him to play a lot, he's ready. He's probably be on 2 more teams before he's done, and he'll help them.
And a +7 tonight off the bench.
Yep. I think Fox ends up with 35 in this game. I think Curry ends up with 40 in this game, but I still think the Kings are going to win this game. But I think it's going to be fun. This is going to be an entertaining second half. So we'll fasten our seatbelts. And again, those are the things that we need to look out for. Both teams have taken care of the ball, as we just talked about. Which team is going to get a little careless? Jerry, I was telling Ryan this before you came on. In every game that we saw last year with the Warriors, the one thing that they had were a lot of unforced turnovers. Even earlier this year in the matchups, they didn't have any really unforced turnovers in that first half.
No, that was about as clean as I've seen them play. And I think for the Kings to win, they really will need to force some turnovers. I will say that. I go back to your point. I'm convinced Monk's got to be a factor, but I think Keegan Murray has got to score some. I mean, he's playing hard. There's no question there, but I think he's got to score the ball a little better.
Well, Jerry, if Harrison,
go ahead, Ryan.
I was just going to say, if Harrison's able to get down there and be successful, get to the line 4 times in the first half, Keegan can definitely do it as well. We've seen him get into the mid-range effectively the last few games.
Yeah, I think he, and I think he's trying to. I mean, I think he will. I mean, but hey, at the end of the day, we got a shootout going. And we'll see how it ends up.
It's going to be fun. Jerry, thank you very much. And we will talk to you later in the road trip.
You sure will. Pull them through, guys. Counting on you.
All right. And Rhino, we'll be back here in a little more than an hour. It's probably going to be more like an hour and 15 national TV. I think there's going to be a lot of delays, a lot of timeouts. But again, keep in mind, no challenge for the Kings. How long will Sabonis stay on the floor before he picks up his 4th? And which team, all right, is going to cool off a little bit from downtown and get a little careless with the ball? To me, those are the 4 things to look forward to.
Nailed it, partner.
See you in an hour or so. Thank you, everyone. Thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. We greatly appreciate it. And here's what we're going to do. Post-game show, we're going to take your calls. You see the QR code on the screen. We'll put it up there for you on the chat line. We want you to call and interact with us. You don't want to go audio and video? No problem. Just go audio. But your opportunity to talk to us right after the game. That's coming up in a little more than an hour here on If You Don't Like That. So long.